know?
R Stevie Moore is a musician that I took far too long to get into. I've known of him, known of his work since 2016, and only got into him last December. And part of that is the fault of the media's characterization of his music. For all of the internet's almost in reconciliation discovery of R. Stevie Moore, so much of the talk is just about his life, about who he was, that he was this weird little hermit from New Jersey, the man with 400 albums. He's recorded 400 tapes of all this music on cassettes, lo-fi, weird music by a weird man in New Jersey, and he's slipped through the cracks, this incredible talent. I think that for so long I let all that deter me, because I heard a few of his songs that were more weird than actually good, and thought, oh, this is his thing. He's just weird. He's the weird guy, and that's great, but if only his music was any good. And for so long, I just left it at that. Sometimes I get very spiteful of this portrayal of him, because it feels like the internet cares about everything except the music he's making, and that undermines what a fucking fantastic musician R. Stevie Moore is. But the more I think about it, the more I listen to his music, it's hard to overstate just how much a part of his art that weirdo outsider perspective is. Because R. Stevie really makes some of the only true outsider art, not just as an outsider to the industry, but an outsider to the humanity around him. Listening to Stevie's albums is at times a very visceral, very emotional experience. Even when the songs are happy and about love and the celebration of life and doing a ton of weed, it's a very humbling experience, hearing from this guy who really does know what you're feeling. I mean, so many people would like to point to their favorite artist and say, they know exactly how I feel, but Stevie is probably the only artist I can point to, and really mean that wholeheartedly, 100%. I discovered this fact more than ever when, just a couple days ago, I picked up an old tape of his, the R. Stevie Moore LPs. It's a compilation of his first two studio albums, Phonography and Delicate Tension, with the Stance EP tracks tacked on and the ends of sides A and B, and it was the first time I ever listened to Phonography. Not because I was against it, some super fan who's too real for Phonography. I had just never gotten around to listening to it. And my first thought was, these songs are really cool, but what the fuck is with these spoken word bits? But the more and more I listened to it, I realized that this album is Stevie at his rawest. It's him just unfiltered, putting together a compilation of what he thought was his best at the time, and I think that that's really the most fantastic way to transfer the feeling of listening to one of his tapes into a commercial LP ready for mass consumption. But the song that struck a chord the most with me off his album was not the cool West Coast feel of California rhythm, or the funniness of Goodbye Piano, or even the cool, funky pop shit that is I Wish I Could Sing. No, it was the closing track, Moons. Moons is, well, it's one of the earliest songs Stevie ever recorded, and my god, it shows here. It's bizarre, it's weirdly put together, it's all kind of done off beat, edited weirdly, mixed weirdly, the instrumentation is bizarre. What the fuck is that even playing? An accordion in the background? And yet, it's really good actually. It's even kind of beautiful. It's this sweet little closing tune about Stevie looking up at the moon in awe of its clearness and its glow, and enjoying the pristine moment shared by him and the moon. It's a particularly raw and vulnerable moment on an already very bizarre, individualistic, and raw record, and it kind of stands for everything that Stevie stands for. The song itself is about being alone and taking joy in the simple things in life, things that others might not take joy in. The second stanza is about trying to invite his friends out to see this beautiful moon tonight, and all of them being asleep and having no time for it. And that doesn't even bother him, he's just happy to spend this time with the moon. That's kind of what R. Stevie's music is about, his DIY ethos. Stevie always felt very limited by where he was recording, how he could record, what little instruments he had access to. He says that he was no technician at the time, and that he barely knew how to play half the instruments, and Stevie was fighting through, and I feel like his music was almost good because of that. I mean, think of it this way. If Steve was recording in a studio with a top-of-the-line house band and time to revise his lyrics and think, maybe I shouldn't write a song about that, do you think we would have gotten this bizarre, off-kilter, accordion rhythm section song about lonely staring up at the moon and being completely okay with it? Do you think we would have gotten that weird spoken word interlude that's like a commercial for a UK bank or something in a studio? Do you think that shit would have flied? I don't think it would have. And I don't know. There's just something really beautiful about that to me. There's something really touching about this diary of sound approach, as R Stevie has described it. If you haven't listened to Phonography yet, or you're unsure, take it from someone who is skeptical of all the hype, skeptical of R Stevie himself. It is worth everything people say about it. It is just as good, maybe even better. Phonography will change your damn life. Buy it, steal it, listen to it in any way you can. Support your local R Stevie, save R Stevie. Have a great night, you guys.